Hi everyone, my name's Glenn Fisher and this is Sins of the Cross podcast, and today I'm with Danny Shannon. How you going, Danny?
I'm very good, thank you, Glenn. How are you?
Yeah, I'm good, brother. And so we're going to share a bit of Danny's story. You know, it's for those that know, Danny was a heroin addict, grew up on the streets of Cabramatta and got himself in a bit of froth and bubble there, didn't you?
Yes, mate. I did get myself into a little bit of froth and bubble, Glenn.
Yeah. And so yesterday is a pretty special day, bro. Tell us about that.
Mate, today I celebrate 16 years of sobriety, bro. Yesterday, on the 15th of September 2009, I got 1 day clean, which is a long time ago. Actually, that's 834 weekends that I've been off the piss and the heroin. Really, I say piss, but my drug of choice was heroin. I hardly drank. I have shot up alcohol, but yeah.
All right, so Danny, I want to break your story down into 4 parts.
Break it down, Glenn.
Break it on down. The first one I want to speak to you, bro, is let's talk about little Danny. You know, before all the shit hit the fan, you know, tell me about yourself growing up.
Mate, Mum always gets a shout out. You know, I'm blessed. I come from a beautiful, loving mum. And my dad's great too. My dad's nicknamed Shonky. He passed away 1 year ago, almost today. But my mum was this beautiful, loving person who taught me all my values and morals. You know, I was very lucky to have a good mum. I had a sister as well. I have a sister, I should say, and I have a mum. But yes, and my dad, Tony, his nickname Shonky, as I said, he kind of taught me. He taught me everything I shouldn't know. My dad was like a rat bag. You know, I remember driving around in even like in like the old HQ or even 65 Falcons, but as a kid, and my dad's mates were all rat bags too. And I've got one beautiful memory, which seems to be coming up lately. It's like my dad used to smash into his mate's cars, like in his car, and it's like, and I just remember being a kid thinking, oh, this is so cool, you know. We used to do demolition derbies, and but yeah, my dad was a criminal. My dad never did anything by the books, you know, and like my mum was like this yin and yang sort of thing. But mate, ultimately, I became homeless or living on the streets at 14, up in Bundberg after a family split up. By choice. It was my choice.
Yep.
I always say how beautiful my childhood is, but if you break it down, I mean, people might suggest that was part of my problem. But I mean, for me, it's not. You know, I just identify with having a good childhood.
Let's go into that and have a
Yeah.
So you lived with your mum growing up, or your mum and your dad?
Mum and dad. So they were constantly fighting and splitting up, and in fact, they usually weren't together. So I'd go to mum's. It depends what age you're talking, but from the age I started becoming trouble, so let's say 12 or 13, previous to that, I was just a kid. I think I was a pretty lucky kid, you know?
Yeah.
I probably didn't know much about. My dad had every job you could ever think of. Like he always had some new job, and I would go along to work with him at times, you know? And my mum was also just like a at-home mum sort of thing, but from the age of 12, 13, I guess mum and dad were splitting up, and I would go live with mum for 6 months, and then I'd go live with dad, and vice versa. And usually I'd get kicked out of one of their houses.
Okay.
And that pattern continued until I was 15 when or 14, 15 when I finally left the home and sort of fended for myself. Yeah.
So how does that look? You left home. Let's unpack that. Where did you go to when you left?
So what happened was mum and dad tried this last hurrah, I call it. They moved up to Bundberg.
Okay.
When I was 14. And they it was like, we'll give it one more try, you know, for the kids sort of thing. Good reasoning. But it didn't last, you know. Like, so the minute we got this new house, I think it was called Natalie Street in Bundberg, Begara, Bundberg. I knew an older kid who was living there already because we grew up with him as well, and he moved up there about a year before, and he'd already been introduced to alcohol and drugs. And my first night in Bundberg, or in Begara, that was the little town of Bundy, I got drunk, stoned, and I got on these nitric oxide nangs, and that was my introduction to another world, you know. I'd had a cigarette at 12, and I do think it started there, you know, and it was with that same guy, Ricky. Bless him, Ricky snuck a cigarette out in toilet paper. I remember it was rolled up in toilet paper, and we went down the street and had this cigarette. But then the next thing I did, again with Ricky, was get high. And that's where it all began, mate. Pretty much over the next 6 months, I'd convince Mum to go back to Sydney. So it's amazing the power a kid can have. So Mum and my sister, they weren't really liking it up there. For me, it was like a whole new found life. Like I can get drunk and stoned. And in fact, Mum, you're holding me up here, because you're trying to get me to be a good boy. So I said to Mum, I said, you know what, you two should go. You and Lucy should move back to Sydney. This is how I remember it. And sure enough, they did. So then I was left up there with my dad. My dad used to travel a lot to Philippines. He had all these rackets going on in Philippines. And so every time he'd go away, he would travel a lot. I'd be left at home. And every time he'd come back, we'd be kicked out of the house. That happened 3 times. He came back the third time. We'll kicked out of the third flats, and he said, "I'm going back to Sydney. We're going back to Sydney." I said, "You go, Tony."
So let's do the formation. So you start messing around with drugs in Bundberg.
Yeah,
how does it go to the next level? When does it start to spiral?
Really it starts to spiral immediately, man. Like, so first night drunk, stoned, probably 3 nights later drunk, stoned, then maybe drunk, stoned, and then magic mushies, then LSD. Within 6 months, I'm on the bags of speed, amphetamines, magic mushrooms, LSD, cocaine, alcohol. So 6 months, the progression. But after 6 months, Glenn, I thought, this is fucked. I'm couch surfing. I wasn't really surviving that well.
Yeah.
And this mate, Greg, I'd never spoken about Greg in the yellow Gemini. He was a friend from back in Sydney. He drove up. He picked up this dude called Chris Stone as well from Brisbane prison. He was an older guy, and they came up and picked me up. We did a road trip back to Sydney, and I ended up back at my mum's house living in a garage for the next year. And that's when I picked up heroin. So by the age of 15, I picked up heroin. So it was between 14 to 15, I dabbled in all those substances. I would call it just like experimenting or exploring.
So what's different? Like I know for me, I remember switching from those drugs myself, speed specifically, to heroin. I remember the transition. Do you remember what was different about heroin that made
everything's different. If up until that point, like I just used the words, I was experimenting, right?
Yeah.
Heroin was completely different, mate. The day I tried heroin was the beginning of the end, or the end of the beginning. Yeah. It was the day my life changed dramatically. Like literally, I'm in illegal gambling establishments run by gangs in Cabramatta. Like the first day. So, it was a different thing,
That's one of the things about drug use that separates alcohol use. With alcoholics, you can go just about on any corner and get it.
True.
But when we're a drug user, we are forced to mix with the dealers, the crims, the baddest of the bad, really.
Well, picture this. My first shot of heroin, I'm sitting in a flat in Cabramatta on, let's say, John Street. I don't think it was John Street. I forget the name of the street. And there was no furniture. It was like a chatty little flat, dirty carpet. And the drug dealer he squatted down. You know, the Vietnamese squats.
Yeah.
And I've got my arm out, and he's injecting me with heroin for the first time. And I remember my mate Brad had just had his shot first. I watched him get it, and then he started vomiting. I'm thinking, what's that about, And then I had my shot, and I was just like, wow, like I feel like I'd want to describe, what it was like. It was like this, don't often get to talk about this, but it was like this heat coming from the outside of my body, just closing in, right? And it's like it's getting closer and closer, and it's like closing in on my soul, on my spirit. And it's like when you get to that spirit bit, it's like I had to vomit. I ran to the bathroom and vomited. And I learned very quickly, I don't mean to glorify it, and it's not glorifying it, but the power spew is kind of like, you've got some good gear.
Yeah, that's right. Well, I mean,
you got a result.
Yeah, it happened early in our addiction. Now, I often say that the very first time, because I'd used speed for a year, living in a flat, I never
left. Well, you can vomit on that too.
Yeah,
a good one.
Yeah, you can. They call it white wall. But with the gear, I remember taking it down, and it was like I realigned. it was like my whole body came into itself, and it was like this feeling of nothing else fucking mattered.
That's so true, Glenn. Yeah. And isn't it funny to consider the way I just described my childhood, right?
Yeah.
This is really important. So, and this is why addiction does not discriminate you. You know, when you consider the childhood, I just gave mom and dad a mad rap. You know, but the minute I had that heroin, it was like, yeah, exact same thing. I was like, oh, fuck, I needed that, man. I just needed this. I need this more. It gave me a sense of being, you know, like it made me, it's like all the noises stopped. Yeah.
That's exactly what I was saying.
Like the noise fucking stopped.
Yeah, that fucking clutter in the head just stops. And we just want to reiterate that only happens at the beginning, doesn't it? And then it becomes like, it's a kind of a falsehood. Like a lie, right? You had this shot and you get this great feeling, and then you get it again and then again, and then all of a sudden you spend more time in withdrawals or hanging out or chasing the gear than you ever do in fucking being off track.
Yeah, you're chasing that same feeling. You never quite get it as good as that first one for sure. But in saying that, like it's true. Like I was dependent. I was chasing the high. You know, the high rarely. Especially because I got on the methadone at the age of 21 too, and I continued using for 6 or 7 years. There was no, like I'm chasing a fix, like I'm chasing that same feeling that happened, you know, in that dingy little flat in Cabra back in the day. And that's when I moved on to amphetamines or ice. You know, Shabu hit the streets in Cabra. Literally, I remember when Shabu, which was ice, hit the streets in Cabramatta. It was like, wow, man, like where did this come from? You know, this dealer said to me, we've got this other stuff too. And of course I said, yeah, fucking chuck it in. Chuck it in and yeah.
I think what's interesting about your story, Danny, that differs from mine is that there's this misbelief, I guess, or misnomer that, you know, bad family, bad childhood is the precursor to addiction. And as you were just saying a second ago, it doesn't discriminate. It doesn't matter if you're rich, poor, big, tall, whatever the fuck it is, you're going to, you know.
Yeah, Glenn, the best way I can describe it is when I had that first shot of heroin, I became like an animal overnight. It's like this, and I say animal overnight because my whole values and morals went out the window, you know. My experimenting previous to that was one thing, but after that, that's when I really started, I became desperate. I became desperate to change the way I feel. I had the obsession and compulsion to get and use more drugs, and I would do anything to do so. You know, I put myself in some very, very, very risky situations, which led me to prison at the age of 16, 18, locked up for my 18th birthday, and so on, so on. But yeah, man, that desperation for that fix and the chemical dependence too, isn't it?
Absolutely.
So there's a combination.
Let's talk through that, right? So at the start you're using, you know, it's recreational really because you don't have a jackrabbit yet.
No.
When did you discover you had a jackrabbit?
Yeah, it's funny. It's a habit. You mean a habit? A jackrabbit? What the fuck's a jackrabbit? Yeah, mate, I remember 6 weeks into injecting heroin, my girlfriend found out. I don't even, like, if you think about, bless Rachel, if you think, I don't know how it worked. I always say it was 6 weeks into, she found out that I was shooting up heroin, and they locked me up. Like, I was living in the garage at my mum's house, or was it my dad's house, one of the parents' house. I was living in the garage. I had really nothing to do with them, but I lived in the garage, and they found out I was shooting up heroin, and Rachel and my mum and my sister said, we got to help this guy, you know. And I say they locked me in a room for 3 days. And they did basically. I didn't go out for 3 days, but for the very first time I experienced heroin withdrawal, and I didn't know what it was. It felt like and you hear this all the time, it felt like a cold. Yeah, it felt like a cold. It wasn't that bad. But once you discover that that's heroin withdrawal, it's like it amplifies the addiction.
It does.
Yeah. It's like, fuck this, I'm not doing this again.
Yeah.
And my mission was to be stoned every day for the rest of my life.
Yeah.
From that point onward. Yeah.
And I'm a bit like you, and I used Danny. Like if I had $1,000, I used $1,000. About $50, you know, I was a pig. You know, for everything I could get. So when did you start? Like, how did you support your heroin habit at the beginning, Danny?
I started literally, I used to be skate. I used to be a good skateboarder. Right? We've spoken about this. I fucking used to be the best skater in my
I was better.
in my town, right? And I'm sure there's a couple of the boys would say I was better than you too, Danny. But we used to rob building sites.
Okay.
And we would build ramps. We'd steal all the wood, all the material. And Mum, she was the best. She used to just let us fucking build ramps in the backyard, But also we'd be stealing power tools. We'd be skating schools, and we'd be breaking into school canteens, school wood shops. And I started finding dealers that would swap power tools. And so that's where it started. Then it escalated to breaking into factories. I'm not going to say which suburb, but I've done every single factory in that suburb. I got caught for all of them, I swear. And then it escalated. Well, I was stealing cars as well. Back there, you used to learn how to steal the VNs, and I used to mostly just steal Corollas, Coronas. Sometimes you'd be cashing the cars. Ultimately, bro, just drug related offences.
Yeah.
I was, unless I was in jail, I was stoned every day.
Yeah.
And the habits probably range from $200 to $1,000 a day. Depends when you start using coke. The whole thing's changed. And this image right here, like King's Cross. So we would do the Cabra to the Cross run. All the good heroin was in Cabra.
Yeah.
Now there might have been some up the Cross. I don't know. But we would get on in Bonnyrigg or in Cabra, and we'd drive to the Cross if we had a good amount of cash, and we'd go up to Porky's. We could talk about this. Is a fun part of my addiction, Go up to the strip clubs. Pay $5. They give us fresh needles, fresh swabs. I'll get a couple of caps of coke, and we mix. Yeah.
So from lasers, you were going to lasers and putting money in the top, and it was popping out the bottom. What were you get
to get on?
Yeah.
No. I was scoring on the streets, man. I didn't have any good connections. I mean, I knew lots of the boys on the streets, but like literally, it was the times when you used to be able to go into the news agency and buy the 00 caps,
Yeah.
and the balloons, and which I remember thinking, if they can just do that, like some of these people are probably ripping people off. I did get ripped off up there, not a lot. Always had someone that I'd get on from regularly. But yeah, man, crazy times, King's Cross. And then we'd get on it, like you'd have probably 2 hours just strung out in Porky's. It was usually Porky's for me, and usually involving probably some chick as well, maybe. Or it'd be people that I'd be using with. We'd have a stolen car in the alleyway in King's Cross, usually. I remember one time there was a stolen car in the alleyway with a big bundle of cash in it, and I remember thinking, fuck, I hope someone doesn't take our car, but they didn't. Yeah, it's crazy. It gives me a bit of energy when I think about that shit.
It's funny, when you talk about cocaine in King's Cross, because I used early on, for the early 80s, and it was only H. It was pink rocks or brown, or it was white, beige, whatever it was. And then, but Cabramatta came to place because you could get synthetic heroin for much cheaper, and cocaine you could pay $60, and get quite a good amount as well. I used to do the same thing the opposite way, get my coke.
You'd go the opposite way.
And then to get my gear.
It would be a mish too. And I remember one time, dude, this is crazy. My mate Brad, he was so paranoid, right? And we would do the run together. And I remember once on getting pulled over on our way back. So we've got drugs on us. We've still got a coke left because we want to we've got no heroin left. We want to get back to Cabra, buy more, and have the speedball, which is using coke and heroin together. I will stop talking about the glamorizing it, right? But anyway, I remember getting pulled over on Anzac Bridge, right, on Glebe Point Road on the bridge, and this copper's banging on the window, and we've got heaps of drugs on him. If this copper gets us, we're fucked, right?
Yeah.
Brad winds the window down this much, and I'm thinking, this copper's saying, wind the window down, all the doors are locked. He's going, no. He's handed his license out the window. He was unlicensed, and man, the coppers ended up letting us go.
Oh, wow.
But they went ahead. So then Brad reversed the fucking car back down Glebe Island Bridge to the and we got away. But yeah, I'm sure they caught up with him later because but anyway.
There's so many close calls, isn't there?
Oh,
I think back to all of the different times. All right, Dan, let's take this into a new pathway.
Enough.
It leads you to prison.
Oh, yeah. I was locked up in Cobham Boys Home at 16 for warrants. I also wrote some bodgy checks from an employer, bless him. I remember the employer's name. I won't say him because he knows because I wrote him in my fucking name. The coppers went, they must have found the check missing and she found my name on it. And anyway, so I was locked up in Cobham. I didn't get locked up for the checks in the early days when I was 16. I didn't have a big criminal record before that, so it's hard to get locked up. Really, like I lasted a while. But for warrants, Cobham Boys Home 43 days maybe. And then by 18, I was locked up in Cabramatta prison, and pretty much for the next 10 years, I spent the majority of the time in prison. And look, to talk about prison, I did fine. You know, I was stoned pretty much every day in prison. I got on the methadone at 21. I had little bits of trouble, got bashed out the back of B block in Silverwater. I had a couple of other little fights along the way, but generally I've witnessed people getting stabbed, and one guy died at Silverwater in front of us. Yeah, a bunch of shit like that. But I was always, and I still always am able, this is my talent. I've got this talent to be able to connect with the roughest, toughest, headiest person and turn them into a mate pretty quick. You know, I'm not saying everyone like that. If you don't, it's because I don't like you either. But generally, I've always had that ability to get what I want.
Yeah.
I get what I want always.
It's the skills of an addict, mate.
Yeah, it is.
I'm like that myself.
Yeah,
When I was,
you are. I know. Yeah. That's why I'm here, Glenn.
I've been the ugliest, mate. And I love that, Danny. Listen, so let's talk about the escape.
The escape. Yeah, I did escape from Silverwater prison. So old Silverwater. There had been maybe one or two people that had escaped from there in the past. It was the 6th of February 2001. Just to give you some context, right? We're not talking the Big Mac show. We're not talking John Kelly helicopter fucking style. But they're talking just across the road there. It was 24-foot barrel fences, double fences. It's inescapable. I did manage to climb the fence. I attended this religious event. Do you know Kairos? You ever did that? Yeah, it's this I knew this chaplain, Peter Baines, and he used to run this religious program on a Wednesday night. Now, they had good coffee and biscuits, and I was on the methadone.
The church and jail.
There you go.
Literally for the
only fucking reason I went. So they had good coffee and biscuits, and mate, at the end of one of the evenings, it was the 6th of February. Now, 6th of February was quite significant. It was my son's mum's birthday, and she had like a big bag of my cash, like about 50 grand, right? And I was just fucking itching. I'm thinking, what the fuck's she doing with my money, for one thing? It was her birthday too. I only had 3 months to go in prison. And I said, listen, I rang her up on the phone, and this is a phone call from the Silverwater Remand and Reception Centre. If you do not wish to take this call, please hang up now. I said, hey, Michelle. I said, happy birthday. I said, if I could come home tonight, I said, would that be okay? And I just know, of course, she'd be rolling her eyes thinking, sure, Danny. Yes, Danny, that's fine. I said, okay, well, I need you to make sure you've got some money ready. And that was it. We hung up the phone call. And sure enough, that evening, when everybody was sitting around holding hands, singing Kumbaya at the end of the Kairos, I ducked out with another guy. I won't talk too much about him, but I should give Pat a shout out. Like me, he orchestrated this plan. And mate, I scaled the fence. There was one part in that entire jail where the barrel, there's this big 4-foot barrel that leans over. So it's impossible to get up over the barrel, right? But there was one section where the barrel met another barrel. So there was one part that didn't have the barrel. And I managed to scale up that thing. I used to weigh 65 kilos, ring and wet. I was, I'd had a heroin habit, so I'm 102 now, kilos that is. Anyway, I got up on top of that fence. I remember I used these metal garbage bin handles from the old round bins to sort of scale the fence. I was like fucking Spider-Man climbing up this fence, and I got up on top, and I just remember taking that last leap to get on top of the barrel, and I looked down, and there's all those big prongs, and if I fucking fell, I would have been dead, bro.
Yeah.
But I'm up on top of the barrel. It's 8:30 at night. It's pitch dark. I'm still in the middle of the jail, so I'm not out yet. And as I start crawling along the top of the fence, an officer spots me up on the fence. he would have shit himself, and he's just going, holy fuck. He's got straight on the radio and called the squad, so the MEU, the Metropolitan Enforcement Unit. And by then the chase was on. So I literally had to skip through razor wire, cutting my legs to pieces. And then I jumped off this 24-foot fence, landing on my arm on the ground. It was black from here to here. I bent my arm inwards and I ran down towards Holker Street with the dog squad, the police, all chasing me down with lights and sirens. I get down to the bottom of the river where I was ahead of them by about probably 300 meters. I jumped a couple of fences with one arm, by the way, and I dived into the riverbed.
Yeah.
I can hear these fucking dogs coming. And mate, I'm swimming halfway across Cabramatta River, and I swear to God, bro, at that point of Silverwater River, it's a good 100 meters in width. It's a big river. Pat's ahead of me, by the way, because I've got a broken arm. He's already taken off. He's fucking gone. And I'm in the middle of the river, and there's a helicopter fucking coming in. There's big fucking spotlights coming in. The water police are, this is all documented in the police reports. The water police are coming tearing up the river, and I end up making it to the other side. Shark-infested river, too. There's bull sharks there, you know. Yeah. I'm bleeding, too, from the razor wire. And anyway, I end up in the mud on the other side of the riverbank. And it's hard to explain, but I was like in quicksand up to my neck. My whole body was in this mud, and all I can feel is these mangroves and all these things cutting me even worse. And I just clawed my way through. They couldn't see me. The coppers or the water police couldn't see me because I'm like fucking G.I. Joe, man. Like I'm covered in mud. And I ended up coming up 2 hours later at Parramatta Speedway in the middle of this old demolition graveyard. And I know this from the police report because they shut down the whole Silverwater River, Parramatta River, whatever it is.
Yeah.
But we took a little chute called Duck Creek. I caught up with Pat, by the way. He waited for me on the other side of the fucking river. And we took this little Duck Creek, and it brought us up on Parramatta Speedway. Ultimately, look, cut a long story short, I crossed James Roos Drive like Frogger. It was like 8 lanes of traffic going vroom, vroom, vroom. I'm in greens. It's raining, and it's like the rain is starting to wash away my sins. It's like it's starting to drip the mud off me. And by the time I come out on the other side of James Roos Drive, a taxi pulls up. Pat was trying to steal a car. I've got money waiting for me with Michelle. A taxi pulls up and says, "Do you need a lift?" I said, "Yes, I do." And I got in the car and I went to Smithfield, picked up Michelle. She was shocked. I get out the front of her house, whistle out to her. She comes out to the car, dumbfounded. Then we're off on a fucking tangent. The coppers raided her house, my mum's house, my dad's house. They listened to the jail phone call, and they raided all 3 houses simultaneously while I was in the Grandstand Hotel. He woke up on it, mate.
How long were you out?
Mate, I was out. I got caught so that was the 6th of February. I got caught in Perth. Poolside, they dragged me out from a hotel room naked, bashed me beside the pool on Valentine's Day. And I always say, with the partner, I always say, what a romantic story. Yeah. Valentine's Day, mate. So, yeah.
So, 2009, you put yourself into detox.
Yeah,
You've been through the detox shuffle before that. Let's go there first.
So, Glenn, I've been through the detox shuffle hard, man. Because of my beautiful mum, right, I literally started going to McKinnon House at the age of 17, okay? That's Roselle. You know it. Okay, before that, I've been to Cumberland Hospital, which is Wisteria fucking Lodge. Yeah, Wisteria House. I know we know all these places. By the way, guys, that's just down the fucking road here. There was a Basement 82. So I started going to all these detoxes, 17, 18. I remember meeting staff, and I would just go because Mum would say, "Come on, Danny, you need to go." And I guess I thought, you know what, all right, give it a go. I'd last hours or maybe one day. I'd always go in there stoned, and the minute I'd straighten up, I'd go, I'm out of here, you know. And mate, I often talk about my detox and rehabilitation journey being 49 attempts. You know, I went to every single public system in Sydney. Fucking Westmount up the mountains, up near your joint, DC 24, fucking Basement 82, Langton. RPA, Langton Clinic. What else? There's Wisteria House.
But let's go back to that for a second, right, Danny? So, because what I know about it, I was like you. I was a 3rd day runner. I could get there a stone.
I was a 2 day, 24 hours.
Day 1, I was fine. Day 2, I'd straighten up. Day 3, I'd be in the horrors, and that was it. I'm out of there.
And then I'd steal the telly off the wall, or I'd knock somebody's purse off, or I'd fucking do whatever I had to do to get on. And I'd take a hostage as well.
Yeah, me too.
A chick. It was a chick. Come on. Because she's got money, you know? Well, she's got someone who's got money, you know?
That's right. I've been there, done all those things.
Yeah, you're worse than me.
No, you're much worse.
Yeah.
But it sounds funny as we talk about it, but it's actually quite sad because when you think about it, let's break that down, taking hostage, let's talk about what that is because I've done that too.
Yeah.
What it is we're so fucking selfish that we want what we want and we don't give a fuck who comes with us and we're bringing someone else down because I've literally done that myself at DC, taken a woman with me.
Yeah.
And
yeah, I'd done it many, many, many times. I don't know how the fuck I used to get all these hostages, but yeah, when, like you said, hostage is a way for me to not face. It's like I don't want to face it alone. So I drag you. So you drag someone, you drag someone along, and because there's a financial benefit of that person coming along too, you know. And I wouldn't be dragging someone along who's just going to be trying to get me to fucking get on.
And you don't even know subconsciously that you're doing that prior to that happening.
No, I learned that in recovery,
Yeah, you spend all this time talking with someone and you're actually really talking them already out the door and yourself out the door, you know. So you actually get yourself a conspirator, you know, someone who's knee raving with you until finally you talk each other out the door.
Yeah, man. Look, it's toxic. I had 49 attempts at detox. I was never, ever, ever serious any of the times. Not until the last time, Glenn. You know, 2009. I remember sitting in the last fucking detox. Right. Well, actually, sorry, this is the second last detox. I'll tell this story. The dude from MTAR, which is the methadone to abstinence. I've been on the methadone for 13 years by this time. Okay. Yeah. I used to go to detox. I didn't have a heroin habit because methadone would always get over the methadone, but over the heroin. But I'd have a meth addiction, you know?
Yeah.
And I'd go there just to have a sleep because I just couldn't fucking stop using meth, you know? Yeah. And my last 6 years of using was ice and Shabu or whatever they called it back then, you know? But I used to go there for a rest. And the second last detox, I looked at the book, and there was all these rehabs, and I remember this joint, MTAR.
Yeah.
And I want to give them a shout out because, mate, that place changed my life.
Mate. Yeah, okay.
They came out and did an assessment. I remember the dude coming out, Crispin came out and he interviewed me. And the next day, no, that afternoon, they said, you can come in tomorrow, right?
Wow.
I'm like, what? I've never thought, well, I'm going to get off the methadone. The methadone was my security blanket. Yeah. It was it kept me stoned in jail every day for fucking years. And he said, you're coming in tomorrow. It was like a shock to my system. So I grabbed this chick and we fucking left. And we had a big fucking night. I remember I got on the Xannies, on the gear, on everything. And the next day I was due to go into that program. And I thought, my conscience kicked in. I thought, fuck, I'm going to ring him, just say, listen, I fucked up. Because like I had this idea, maybe that was going to change my life, you know? And I rang him and they said, you know what? Thank you for your honesty. We're still going to take you, but we're going to send you out to this stabilization house. Because no, it was in Rockdale.
Rockdale, yeah, right.
Yeah. And so they fucking took me, mate. So you were supposed to go in there with a clean urine. I literally went in there, trashed, had a big night, lost the chick. I don't know what happened to her. That's probably, thank God I lost her because I probably wouldn't have been in that shame and guilt where I rang them. Yeah. And anyway, they took me, mate, and sure enough, 6 months later, I'm off the methadone. I went through that program. I never thought I could ever get off the methadone. In fact, I know hundreds of people who have now.
Yeah.
Through that exact same program. It's called it's changed their name now, but
treatment program. Yeah. I went there when it was building Roselle, and at the same time.
Yeah, we know each other from back then, huh?
I remember I used to go to the Stanley Street meeting in the mornings, and you used to be there. Yeah.
Holy fuck.
Yeah, that's when I first saw you. I thought this can't stop smiling.
Yeah.
Treating me then annoys me now.
Yeah. It's funny you say that because I'm so full of energy even for this show, for this podcast. It makes me really fucking happy. So just on that note, if I can just share, like people say, how are you so happy, Danny? Or, you know, do you have any regrets? And that I do not. Like, yeah, I wish I hadn't hurt some of the people I hurt along the way. But apart from that, mate, my story is my superpower. Like every single shitty fucking experience that happened to me is all part of why I'm here right now. I wouldn't change a single thing, you know.
It's actually the catalyst for us doing what we do today. Let's go into that, all right? So you get out of rehab and you start working straight away in a rehab, right?
No. So I got clean. There was one more attempt. So I ended up, just to go back for a sec, I got 6 months later, I'm 60 days clean because it took 4 months to get off the methadone. I'm 60 days clean and there's just this thing niggling at me, Danny, you haven't felt good heroin for 13 years because you've been on the methadone. I couldn't let go of it. I just could not let go of this idea that I haven't had a good shot of heroin for 13 years. It's the insanity of addiction, isn't it? And sure enough, I went and fucking had one. I dropped. I ended up fucking with broken ribs from the paramedics giving me CPR, blue lips. I'm dead on Liverpool train station. And anyway, I went back to rehab again, and that's when I finally got it. And so then my last detox was Herbert Street Clinic.
Oh.
Yeah, Devon St. Leonard's Hospital. So I give a big shout out to them. I always give a shout out to the programs that saved my life. And then Glebe, then Foundation House, 28-day program. Yep. I did everything wrong while I was in there. I was doing the tax rule. Back then there was this tax rule going on. It's not Saints Anonymous. You don't just get clean and become a saint overnight, clean, you know what I mean? And I had my mobile phone stashed on me as well. Don't recommend any of that. And then I went on to another program called Glebe House, which introduced me to 2 meetings a day, 12-step fellowship meetings a day, introduced me to cooking my own fucking meals and cooking for other people. They introduced me to life skills groups, yoga, Pilates, all this shit that, mate, it's the stuff, the foundation of my recovery, you know. I left there and I went to a halfway house where I began working as a barman.
If I could say 3 words that you would say for recovery that every single person needs to grasp, what would they be?
Surrender.
Yeah.
3 words for recovery. So surrender, definitely. Dream big, dream big, you know?
Yep.
And I'm going to say happiness too. Because it's really the Surrender's the one. I'll just share this quick. On Christmas Day 2009, I went home. I was in rehab. I was in that Glebe house. They sent me home for a Christmas Day visit. I was with my family and I was full of shame. I was sitting around a table with 15 loved ones who I'd hurt, stolen, robbed, every single one of them. I left there that day and I thought, my son was there too, you know, who I hardly knew. I left there that day and I thought, I'm going to get on. I can't do this. Fuck this. And I stood at my turning point. Christmas Day 2009, I was about to hand over the money up the cross to a dealer to buy some cocaine and some heroin. I thought, I know what's going to happen. I'm going to end up back in jail. I could end up dead. I might end up back in rehab. And that day I thought, what if I don't do this? Maybe I should, how can I stop this? It's like, I just didn't want to do it. And that day I changed my mind. I thought, you know what, I'll do this tomorrow. And that day a miracle happened, Glenn. I got
back on the bus.
I got on the bus and I have not come close to picking up a drink or a drug for this Christmas. I'm 16 years clean yesterday, but I have not fucking come close to using a drink, a drug, a pot, anything for Christmas Day will be 16 years this year. So
that's a miracle.
Yeah, it's a miracle.
You and I both know.
Yeah, it is.
Addiction that one day is a miracle, bro. 16 years is incredible.
Yeah, bro.
So, all right, so you get clean, Danny. When was the moment that you started to realise accountability? I've got to start taking some ownership here of some shit that I've done.
It took years. So I love this little saying. They said early recovery was 5 years. And some people would go, fuck, what, I've got to wait 5 years. For me, I thought that's mad. It means for 5 years, I can just sort of kick back. Not kick back, but it's hard to get, if you can grasp that, if early recovery takes 5 years, you don't need to be okay in 5 years. Just do what you can to get through for 5 years. Don't fucking pick up. Put one foot in front of the other, one day at a time. Continue to move forward. Do the little things, baby steps. I began working 1 day a week, right? And then it moved on to 2 days a week, then on to 3 days a week. In the end, I was working 7 days a week at this mad company, traveling all around Australia, doing these sporting events. As a barman, I was bar operations, so I used to hook up the kegs at all these mad sporting events, Monster, Motocross, V8 supercars. I thought, I'm living the dream. I'm on my feet a lot. And I thought one day, I was doing 16-hour days, and I thought one day, maybe fucking this is hard work. I thought maybe I should go to TAFE and start helping people, So that's exactly what I did, mate. Next thing you know, I'm doing a community service certificate 4, and I landed a job in the same rehab that I went through, which was Glebe House. And I stayed there for the next 10 years. I built a life beyond my wildest dreams. I built a career. I went on to do university. I did a Bachelor of Counselling. I did a diploma in community services. Yeah, man, I fucking traveled the world. I bought a house.
Before we go forward, because I really do want to go forward with your story because it's exciting what you've done, all the things you've done, and we'll get to that. I just want to go back a little bit because I get frightened that we glamorize things, and I think it's important that people understand the ramifications of addiction. One of the things in my journey was I lost a lot of mates along the way.
Yeah.
How does that play out?
Yeah, well, yeah, absolutely. Glenn, I shit you not 100%. 100 plus people are dead that I know. Yeah. 100. Now I'm talking people who are still on my favorites list on my phone. There's 2 people on my favorites list who are no longer with us. They died of heroin overdose.
Yeah.
But because I was involved in the 12-step fellowship, there's literally, there's 100 plus people who are, and out of that 100, 98 of them would be heroin overdose. Yeah. 1 or 2 suicides, 1 alcohol-related death. And I remember the dude that died of that, he was literally ran across a fucking 7-lane highway and got hit by a car. But yeah, man, said
it's frightening too. So my first one that I lost when I went to NA was Brett Whiteley, the artist, and I always looked up to him like, I just want what he's got. Which is kind of how it works in NA, isn't it? We see all these people in long-term recovery.
Absolutely.
And then when he died, it really frightened me. I was like, fuck, if he can pick up after all that time, and we've seen others with 20 years. Jeff, there's a few people that were in Who's one guy that was there for 20 years clean and ended up busting it and losing life as well. It's like quite common.
It is, man. It is life and death, this thing we call recovery. It really is life and death. Look, 16 years sober for me, one of the things they really taught me in the 12-step fellowship is to be really careful and don't ever get complacent, right? Now, I feel so far removed from that, I mean, I'm not going to pick up. I'm not. Look, I'm blessed that my work involves me helping people, so I don't think I ever forget. Not a fucking hour goes by without me answering 10 messages someone's struggling. So, but yeah, just on that note,
I feel you.
We're lucky for that.
Yeah, I remember getting on the train once after dealing with an addict, and I remember thinking to myself, I wish I could just tell him what's in here, like show him what's there. And then I thought about it a bit hard, and I thought, imagine all the people along the way have tried to tell you or me, and we're just in that spot. It's like,
if they listen,
we don't listen.
No.
So. Sorry, Dan, I didn't mean to cut you off because I want to talk about where we're going.
Yeah, let's go.
Let's talk about Encapsulator.
You talk a lot, Glenn, mate. Like we're just babbling on.
That's how we do it. 2 men having a chat.
Encapsulate, it's funny. I get excited, Yeah. I do. It's because I'm truly so passionate. And here's the biggest thing, Glenn. Encapsulator, you just mentioned Encapsulator, okay? Encapsulator is my app, okay? I've literally spent 8 years working 24 hours. From the minute I wake up to the moment I go to bed. And by the way, I don't go to bed till midnight every night at least. My whole life has been about Encapsulator. So Encapsulator is a tool for individuals to record and document their hopes, their dreams, their fears, and their future aspirations. I came up in 2016. I sat in my office at that rehab. I was sitting there. I just celebrated a milestone. I was full of gratitude. And I thought to myself, fuck, I wonder what I was like when I first entered those doors, sitting on the opposite side of where I was working. And I thought, I wonder what I was thinking and I wonder what I was feeling. Yeah. And I thought, you know what? I'm going to record a video to myself for my 10-year milestone, which is very ambitious at the time because they tell us to keep it in the day and all that. And I did some research on some questions that you could answer when talking to your future self. Yep. I started the camera rolling and immediately I felt this incredible experience. This was me talking to my future self. I got quite emotional. First of all, I thought about my mum, my dad, my son. I thought, fuck, I hope I'm okay. I've lost 100 people dead. Am I even going to be alive? And I also thought this would be an incredible tool for the clients that I was working with, because so often people come up to me and say, Danny, like, when's it going to get better? You know, I haven't changed. And as a worker, I'd see so much change. I've seen so much change in you, Glenn, you know, and we don't always see our change. So it began there, and we first started off on version 1 as a message to your future self who used to get locked. Today, Encapsulator is transformed into a platform allowing coaches like yourself, Glenn, who has just recently built a program on our platform. So we now allow coaches to come build programs, a training or learning program on our platform where you can deliver it, let's say in your case, over 4 weeks to your participants, giving your community an opportunity to come together with you weekly in a Zoom meeting. They can also watch training videos from you. And the cool part is once they've done all of that, they can record a video to their future self. They answer questions on screen, which will guide them to explore their thoughts and feelings in a private, confidential space.
Yeah, I love it. I do. And I'm annoyed.
Thanks,
When you first told me about Encapsulator, I wished I had have done it then because I didn't.
Everyone wishes that, Glenn.
And you know what? For me, I didn't see myself there. I know that sounds like a weird thing to say, but I just couldn't picture myself being there. And so I was afraid that I'd go there and I'd be no further along. Does that make sense?
Yeah, mate. That's a really, really good point, Glenn. And that's well, of course, it's a lack of faith in yourself, isn't it?
Yeah.
Like but mate, so much changes. And not just that, this therapeutic value of talking to your future self without any judgment, people start to explore and talk about things that they've never spoken about before. It's magic because the more we talk about the stuff, the more we minimize. A problem shared is a problem halved, you know?
Absolutely.
And the more we talk about it, the more likely we are to go and seek the help that we need when we're ready. So that's Encapsulator, mate. It's my baby. Look, I tell you what, like I said, it's been 8 years in the making. I can't believe I still call myself a tech startup because I haven't quite fucking hit the big time yet. But I'm not. I've got a big picture on my wall at home. It's got Manhattan because I was born in Manhattan. I was in Manhattan in 2017 when I came up with the idea to turn it into an app. But it says 2027, so I've still got another 2 years to blow it the fuck up.
So what the fuck happened with you on Facebook? Let's go down that road.
So, I have a community of 550,000 plus members on Facebook. I've built this incredible community through sharing my stories around recovery. It all started with Encapsulator. I told people where that idea came from. I just kind of shared it with you. And, mate, I got banned. They banned me on Facebook. Danny Shannon was banned on every Meta platform. I actually tried to start 5 other accounts and they shut me down like in 30 seconds. Facial recognition. They were very serious. Right. But they made a mistake. I actually got a formal apology from Facebook. Thanks, Zuckerberg. But yeah, they made a mistake. And look, mate, I don't know if you can pick it up about me, but I'm not someone to get angry or blame. I'm not saying I'm perfect, but I really had no resentment. I knew it was AI that fucked it, you know?
Yeah.
And I just never gave up faith. I want to give a shout out to this wonderful organization called Kim Bartlett, but his company's called Your Voice. He got my Facebook back, bro. Mate, nobody else could. I went through every channel. I went through Facebook. He literally took it up to the big guys in Facebook, and they acknowledged they were wrong. See, that's the problem when you're dealing with such a big organization like Facebook.
Yeah, they
don't want to say they're wrong.
No, of course not.
They said they were wrong.
Yeah, I got a friend of mine, Nathan, the one I did the podcast with last week. People are literally stealing his content and replaying it on TikTok in America, and it's monetized. They're making huge amounts of money off, and he can't actually get and he's got like 11 million followers. He still can't get a sit down with the people that matter in this.
Nah, you can't. Well, mate, if you want some help, look, that's a different kind of thing. You're trying to. Yeah, you're fighting the world against that. Like, there's not just, if you get one, you're going to have another one.
But it stops traction, bro. Like, what we do, is like we've turned our tragic past into our superpower.
Yeah.
We now have hundreds of messages, people reaching out to us, they see hope in that's what you offer, right? Hope.
Yeah. What I offer hope, I just do it through a smile and kindness, The most common thing people say to me is, Daddy, how are you so happy? Which is the most beautiful compliment ever, you know? You're always smiling. Let me tell you, 16 years ago, if I was smiling, it was because I was deceiving you and I was just about to rob you. So, like, it was a different kind of smile.
It's funny, you know, I love it, but Dazza,
Yeah.
stand it.
Yeah, no, Dazza fucking loves it. But yeah, man, look, life today, I've got I have, a beautiful 8-year-old daughter, Amalia. My relationship with my son, which we didn't dive into, is good. He's 23 years old. I run also an NDIS company, Encapsulator Support. We help individuals. I'm on the NDIS. I run online workshops. We do support, work, support coordination. I got my fingers in 47 pies, bro. I'm a motivational speaker. I often get opportunities to go and talk in schools, in prisons.
On the current affair.
Yeah, been on all the news channels. The good old jail escape is always a good hook to get on. So I've been on Channel 7, Channel 9, SBS, ABC, whatever. But all that stuff. And really, man, all I just do, and the problem is I keep forgetting to mention Encapsulator because I get too excited sharing the story because that's what really lights me up, you know?
We'll post that link with your stuff when we do it.
Yeah,
So we're getting to the end of time because we're actually been on an hour. Wait, wrap it up. No, I just want to ask you a couple of questions because you and I get hundreds of messages every day, right? So I'm going to pretend that I'm one of them people right now.
Yeah, sure, go ahead.
You know, Danny, I've been on methadone 30 years. I want to get off the methadone, but I'm too scared. Where do I start?
Yeah, well, look, first thing I tell everyone, because I love to do this, is look, I can't imagine how you feel. You know, I was lost as well. In that case, I would share that I spent 13 years on the methadone and I was very fortunate to find a service. You know, there's so many services available. People often don't think that there's a lot of help available because they don't know where to look. I'm more than happy to guide you in the right direction. If you're from rural fucking Western Australia, right, I'm going to suggest, look, all right, it sucks. You don't have fuck all services, but I'm going to suggest you get your ass to Sydney because Sydney has the best recovery in the world. And I've travelled the entire world, maybe not Africa yet, the big five's coming, but Sydney has got the best recovery. And we just came from the Cabramatta mission, yeah? They're getting fed. There's a whole bunch of people sitting at tables with pens ready to do applications for people. There's services everywhere. Yeah. You just need to know where to look, mate. So I would say that to that person, you know what, I want you to know I care. Please feel free to reach out to me anytime. I'm happy to guide you in the right direction, mate. And you can do this. I know you can do this. I've known people on the methadone for 30 years today who are living a life beyond their wildest dreams.
I think rehab is definitely where I would start.
Yeah.
The other thing I wanted to ask you is,
go to rehab for sure.
We're speaking to parents often because, you would no doubt, like I do, get parents reach out to me and say, my kid's in addiction. I really want to talk. That's the last question.
Yeah, man. I often say that the loved ones are the true victims of addiction. You know, even at my lowest of low, Glenn, I was homeless under the bridge in Woolloomooloo. You know, hungry, your neighbourhood, hungry, angry, lonely, tired. I always had hope that I was going to get on that night, and you can guarantee I would. I'd be stoned by come thick or thin, I would have got stoned. But what about my mum, my dad, my sister, my brother, my auntie? They're the ones at home thinking, is he dead? Is he bashed? Is he been picked up by the police? You know, is he okay? You know, they're the true victims. What I would say to them is, I've got a bunch of things like it's hard, but the loved ones, if you want to make a difference, you need to do some research. You know, you need to find services that are available in the area. Don't point the finger. Try and listen. Stop enabling them. Because if you continue to enable, and here's the real harsh truth, maybe you're actually part of the problem. Like, that's right. Maybe you're allowing your loved one to continue fucking using.
Yeah. Enabling's the biggest issue, isn't it?
It's a sad thing, man.
Naranon's a program they can reach out to too, isn't it?
Yeah, Naranon's, I believe, a 12-step fellowship that allows family members to go along and support one another in similar situations, you know? Yeah.
Before we finish up, I just want to throw a few stats at people. So firstly, that 73% of women in prison and 65% of males in prison are in because of addiction or alcoholism, you know, which says to me that we need to move away from punitive and towards rehabilitation. You know, for the scumbags that are doing scumbag things, then they can do scumbag prison. But I really think that we moved away from this one-size model fits all, put them in, build them up, come out angry, and then the recidivism rate just keeps rolling, there's got to be a change in this country, Danny, and I believe you're going to be behind, or one of the catalysts behind that.
We are. Thanks, Glenn. Yeah, look, you made a really good point. Some people need to fucking rot in hell, like rot in prison, you fucking 100%. So let's be clear about that. But, look, even I feel like prison taught me a lesson. It did. I also learned lots of good earns too coming out of prison. Like I was definitely a better crim coming out. Yeah. But yeah, look, I mean, here's the thing, Glenn. It's really interesting that you say that because someone coming from working in rehab for 10 years, like sort of what you're suggesting is that we should be able to have a rehab available when you're ready on the spot, right? But it just doesn't fucking work.
I know.
Because you've got to protect all the other people in the club. So if you've got 6 people in rehab who've been there for a month and they're kind of doing all right, and then you chuck me in the mix who's just on an earn, all I want is probably to rob your telly off the wall. I can, throw a bad spanner in the work. So, mate.
Yeah, I've been that person.
Yeah,
I've been that person.
Sure you have.
I hear what you're saying. I often think, and we won't go into a whole spiel about it, but I would really like to see the prisons move towards something that has stages, like a 1, 2, 3, 4, where you can earn remission by doing Narcotics Anonymous.
Good.
That.
Yeah, I love it. Yeah, thank God. Thank God we're moving that way. The world is definitely becoming, it's all about mental health these days. People are sharing their fucking recovery stories left, right and centre. It's become normalised, When I started doing it in 2017, I was on LinkedIn talking about shooting up with dirty water from the toilet bowl in Cabramatta. And people were just like, what the fuck? Who's this guy? And people started getting me on podcasts. So I shocked the system. I've been doing it since 2017, but now it's just standard. It's just Monday morning content, So
where I started too.
Yeah.
2009.
Yeah, well.
Yeah, it's good. All right, Danny.
Yeah, mate, it's been
coming on. Bro. Where can people find you? Last thing, if they want to find you.
Well, I do have Facebook back. You can get me on Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, anywhere, mate. Danny Shannon. Just type in Danny Shannon and you'll find me, mate. I'm on all the platforms.
Thank you, my brother.
Thanks, mate. Thank you.
Thank you, guys.